Greetings and welcome to Conversations with Tony Mobley. Today is August 12th, 2026, and this is episode 218 of Conversations with Tony Mobley. 5 years of conversations. This conversation uses the TV broadcast software Mimo Live, and we also use Zoom. Our website is conversationswithTonyMobley.com, and we have an interactive chat that is also in the YouTube chat. It's called Muhsinah. You can use that to ask your questions. Your questions can be voted up or down. If you choose not to use Muhsinah, well, you can just use the YouTube chat. And we are going to get started right away because I have a great panel with me today. We have Connie Davidson, Dr. Connie Davidson, author of The Bashful Ladybug. We have Dr. Muhsinah Morris, Dr. Mom, molder of minds. And then we have Dr. Christian Padgett, principal of a Fulton County school. And we are so happy to have them here with us today. And we're just going to get started right away. We got tons and tons of questions. We already know that we will not get through all of the questions that we have, but we will put our questions aside if you ask a question, and we will default to your question. So this is your opportunity to ask questions of our educational panel today. Everyone here is a doctor. So please ask your questions. Take advantage of this mind trust that we have here today. So we're going to get started with give us, please, a brief bio for the viewers who missed our conversation the last time we were all here. We're going to start with Dr. Padgett, and then we're going to go to Dr. Morris, and then Dr. Davidson.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Christian Padgett. I am a principal here in the Atlanta metro area. I have been doing this work for about 15 years. I love what I do. And I just truly believe that, not just children, but people, everyone is a learner. And so everyone should never stop learning.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Morris?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Dr. Muhsinah Morris. I am the Director of Metaverse Programs at Morehouse College and a biomolecular chemist by training and professor. I am also the Dr. Molder of Minds, or Dr. Mom. I am the CEO and founder of Metaverse United, which is my own educational ed tech consulting company where I work at the intersection of extended reality and artificial intelligence.
All right, Dr. Davidson.
And I'm Dr. Connie Davidson, and I am I am the senior citizen on this panel. I was a teacher, and then I became a faculty member teaching teachers how to teach. And I have been involved with schools for the past 30 years. And I'm very proud to say that my granddaughter started kindergarten on Monday. And so now she's a big girl.
All right. Now, thank you all so much for, again, being here with me today. And we're just going to get right into the questions. Again, if you're watching, put your questions in. We'll default to your questions. But otherwise, we're just going to have a great education conversation right now. So from where you sit, what is the single biggest shift you're seeing heading into this school year? And I'm just going to ask you just to wave your hand. You can raise your hand or raise your digital hand if you choose to. All right, Dr. Morris first, and then Dr. Davidson.
AI. The conversation around AI. In higher education, I have done a call to action for our higher education professionals to, can you hear me now? You can hear me better? Okay. I'm doing a call to action for our higher education professionals to move the conversation from dishonesty using AI to how we use AI with integrity, and to
Mm.
keep the conversation about continuous learning as part of the process. And let's move on from academic dishonesty, because AI is here, it's going to be here, and it's keeping our young people from making the main thing, which is getting a good education and getting out into the workforce and changing the world.
So, and I completely agree with that, because it's not going to go away. You don't have to like it, but it's not going to go away. And it's one of those things that our students have to learn how to use. But what I find is the biggest problem is that we have teachers that refuse to understand it and vilify it. And it can be a villain if students want to, or a teacher even wants to use it that way. But it's understanding, how can I use this tool to help improve my students' learning in the classroom, because a lot of it is how I teach that class. And teachers that like rely on just AI to do their lesson planning, and don't even look at like what are they teaching. They just go like, I'm just going to plug this standard in, and I'm going to tell them that I want them to have a discussion, and then AI writes the whole thing up. And then a teacher goes to the classroom and it's like, no, you don't even know what you're doing. This thing is telling you something, but you don't even know what the curriculum is. And so it's how can you embed that but still have students participate in the learning process? And I find that while this is a much more sophisticated piece of technology, it still does the same thing as a Chromebook, because teachers went from handing out a piece of paper to now having digital handouts. And that doesn't mean that they're learning anything. It just means you're using the technology, but you're not understanding how to embed the technology. Like you said, let's become authentic about this. It's not going anywhere. They need to know what to do with this. So my thrust is always, how can I get that teacher to understand what they need to do? Because unless the teacher understands, nothing else happens. The kids are going to get a subprime education. So that's how I feel.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Padgett, did you want to add anything?
I think both of you just hit it very well. I think one of the things that I've seen, I've even had to get on some administrators about this. Like, I need you to learn how to think big, dig deeper. You're allowing AI to do all the thinking for you. You're not being a thought partner with it. You're allowing it to become your mind and just do the work for you. And I think you hit it on the head. I will argue that before we start with teachers, we need to start with leaders, because even teachers can read right now, and so can parents. As we're sitting here in a day and age, you're on Copilot, you're on chat, you're on Gemini, writing an email, but you forgot that it's all bolded still in certain places. That was meant for you to actually go back and like take that out and make sure the date is correct or the bullet points are correct. It's just making sure it's for clarity for you, not to sit there and put in the email for everyone else. Like, or you putting these little fake emojis in there that everyone knows, like, you didn't do this. You don't even understand how to use a computer on most days. Take that out of there. It doesn't feel real. So, um, you know, even though some people may not be as intelligent as others, your community is not as unintelligent. So it's just being real with that.
Can all of you sort of share with those who are listening how they might cite the use of AI, so that just give them proper credit when they are using AI? Is
So
that
one of the things that you can do now that is available is, people use Grammarly a lot, but Grammarly actually, if you upload your writing or you copy paste anything that you have written, it will actually identify and cite for you the areas that you identify that are AI generated. So there is a way to cite AI usage the same way that when we started with the internet, people had a hard time figuring out how to cite websites or cite podcasts or recordings. Now there is a way to cite AI generated works, but Grammarly will do it for you automatically.
And I'm a person of a certain age, and because I am a person of a certain age, I recall the days when I was a youngster and we had to cite all of the resources that we used to write a paper. And I'm really just wondering, is there a space in the AI realm that requires that, or is that just out of date thinking in terms of using AI?
There's no consensus around it. So you have academics, academia that feels that there should be a way that you should cite it. The problem is this: I wrote a 333-page dissertation about biomolecular chemistry. And when I write an email, AI detectors say my email is AI, about 40 to 60%. So you're using AI to detect AI. It's a business. It's not necessarily authentic or useful. One of the better ways to be able to cite your work is to say that you wrote this in conjunction with a tool, but nobody cites that they spell checked, which is also a form of AI. Nobody cites that they may have used some kind of grammar check with their word processing. So it's kind of difficult to say you should cite AI generated works in a particular type of way, because how do you know that I didn't write like that? Someone asked me the other day, they said, well, no one uses the word elated. And I said, I do all the time. I say, I am so elated about da 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 da. And you can go back and look at the way that I write. I'm verbose. I speak a lot and I type a lot. So my LinkedIn posts are quite lengthy all the time. So now that you see a lengthy post and you didn't see just like 2 or 3 short words, now it's all AI generated. But I'm a storyteller, and that's who I am. So it's hard for someone who is intelligent to be intelligent, because now you're a robot, and it's like, how can I continue to put out authentic work when every time I do something and it's excellent, now it's attributed to a robot? It couldn't be that I'm a human being that has a great education. And that's the part where it's ignorance is becoming familiar and it's becoming okay, because we see people in leadership positions that are quite ignorant, and they parade around that ignorance as if it is a banner of some kind of like award or medal. And honestly, we need to get back to intelligent thinking and just being articulate and being well read and well spoken is okay. But instead, people expect for you to come unpolished to be authentic, and that's our downfall, honestly.
Okay.
So I'd like to bring this back to the classroom, and what the teacher, some suggestions for a teacher, because it's there. Learning is a participation sport. When you learn something, you have to be engaged in it. And structuring lessons or structuring a unit in such a way that students are put into environments or groups, however you want to put it, student, let's say they have the big question. I was a high school teacher, and so the big question is, did the Vietnam cause more harm than good? Okay, that's an open-ended question. Now I've got to provide information and opportunities for the students to engage in multiple sides of that question over a 3 or 4 week unit. I found that because even before AI, you was just cut and paste from Wikipedia because they were just going back to that time. I would structure the lessons in such a way that students were required to have a piece of art in addition to the notes that I took in class. So I'd give them a set of notes in class, and they had to go home and they had to draw a picture that symbolized these notes. And then they were told to put 2 or 3 bullets underneath it. But that might be one homework assignment. You can't AI that because you got to come in with a sketch.
Right.
When they're in the classroom, now when every milestone of that project has to come to me for a draft review, because students learn when they're from formative assessment. They get mad at you at summative assessment because you didn't teach them. So you structure things in such a way that they are engaged with one another and engaged in the information in your presence in the classroom while you are teaching them. And then you check what they do before they leave the class that day. And it's a very simple check. It's a routine you get into. I found that when you did that, it didn't make any difference what what you whether you're using computers or you're using a pencil and a piece of paper, because I can see them, they can come to a teacher for that kind of support. They're willing to change their minds, and the end product did not have as much weight as the participation product, because I knew what the end product was going to be before they ever got to the end product, because you're always checking their learning along the way. And because they would always have to write a paper, and they did a lot of group work and they had to write a paper. They had a group paper or a presentation, and then they individually would write this paper. Well, I already know what they know because I have been working with them along the way. Teachers have to change the way they teach. Sit and get never worked, but it really doesn't work now because they will sit and then go get it from someplace else because information is available all around them. So I just want to say that until we get the way instruction is actually presented in the classroom, you're always going to have that disconnect. You're always going to have that opportunity for them to just go cut and paste something or ask AI something and then just hand it to you and act like you're too stupid to figure out if it's AI or not. So that's how I feel about that.
Okay. Is everybody good, or can I go to the next question?
Really quickly, to piggyback off of that, Connie, teach from your feet, not your seat, was something that I was taught as a teacher. And that way you always keep your eye on the progression of the student. Um, and you make sure that, just like with children, you just keep your eye on what they're doing. You make it a working group. And I like what you said about um, making sure that learning is engaging, because when kids are checked out, then they do just that. Idle mind is the devil's workshop. They are going to be curious and busy about something. So make it about what your subject matter is.
Thank you, everyone. We have a question from Laura Thompson. Layers that have passed the bar have been caught using AI by AI, putting fake cases in legal briefs.
Lawyers, I think she's trying to say lawyers have been caught using AI.
Yeah, that's a DOJ trick.
Okay.
He's talking about the fact that right now in the internet sphere, there's there's evidence that attorneys from the DOJ, but I guess other attorneys too, have been citing cases that don't exist and then putting them
Wow.
in while they're trying to present their legal arguments.
Right.
And
Because
judges are
AI
going
will
like, hey, this
hallucinate.
is what you're doing. This doesn't even exist. So that's what she's alluding to.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's happened a few times.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
it's sad because you should be using AI just like with websites. I mean, that was we've gone through this before, and I think that what's so frustrating for me is we've seen this before. We saw when people would cite websites that weren't credible because it was a blog or a gossip site or something like that. I mean, people make up information. It's not new. This is not new. We act like we are in a new era. We're really not. It's just a different tool. It's like the same trick that has been played over and over again. Now people have access to information differently, but we've seen this before. So we've seen where people would cite works that weren't academic or weren't like you said, cut and paste from Wikipedia. Now Wikipedia now has like a research team that you have to go through this kind of peer review kind of thing to even get published on Wikipedia now. And they have I'm actually on one of their committees where you're like a judge or whatever. So like you go and make sure that in fact check everything that people put on their site. So AI is going to get to that. It hasn't gotten there yet, but young people need to know how to fact check uh, what AI is saying. The interesting thing about hallucinations or AI generating or making up material is people do too. People do too, and AI is not doing anything that people aren't doing. And so when they say AI can hallucinate, so can professors, so can teachers. I have seen many a teacher not know what they're talking about, not prepare for a lesson, and make up the rainbow and have these children not knowing what they're talking about. And parents make up stuff too because they don't want to tell their kids the truth. And so, like, just like human beings are flawed, human intelligence created artificial intelligence, so it's flawed.
So the tool can be um, a mirror
It is a mirror.
of who we are.
It is a mirror. It just like social media is as well. Yes.
Okay, 2026-2027 school year. Are schools and families actually prepared for it, or are they still catching up?
I
Dr.
think
Pat, you are in schools right now. So, and
I was
so
about
tell
to
us what's
say, hit it,
happening with us.
Christian.
I'm going to say, tell us about what you see.
what I see overall is I think it really depends upon the person. I think it is a case by case situation. I think it is one of those things of while there are some trends as a whole, it still depends upon the person. Um, do I think people are ready? I think some are ready. I think some are not ready. I think it goes back to the basic idea of what we just talked about not too long ago. I think it really goes back to, are you aware of what's out there to begin with as a teacher, as a parent, as an adult, as an administrator? Are you aware? Do you know how to make sure? I think it's the same argument when we think about as children become adolescents and have to learn about drugs and other things that exist, and we're not aware as parents or as adults of what's really out there, or we're not keeping abreast of what's going on. I think it's the same thing. I think it's just a different mechanism, different tool, same mechanisms. And I think that's what we have to keep in mind. I think that as parents, again, just as adults, as learners still, I think and I go back to this, I think one fundamental thing I think that we do not do well enough as adults is remember that we're still the learner. And I think once we get back to understanding that we're the learner, we are going to see movement happen in a positive direction. I've seen, and I've heard this from teachers, I've heard this, and I want to stop just coming at teachers because I want to say that leaders beget the teachers. And that they're the ones that they lead by example. And if you don't show up the right way, how can you expect the teachers to do so? How can you expect the community to do so? I think leaders in particular haven't done the work. I know a lot of people who feel like, well, I've gone to school, I've done my work, I don't have to do anything else. There's a sense of sometimes that I have arrived and I don't continue to do my work. And I think in particular, and especially in certain communities, that we have to realize that our work never stops. You cannot tell children they need to learn, but you show no evidence of it. And so what I'm curious to know is, are we sitting here learning how to use AI? But do you even know how to write a complete sentence? Like, there are some administrators who don't know how to write a complete sentence. You don't know the difference between a compound and a complex sentence. But that's what a fifth grader and a third grader is expected to know how to be able to do. You don't know the difference between a metaphor and a simile. You cannot. I argue sometimes. I'm very curious to see. Just being honest. Let's get rid of the state certification exam and let's make the all certified staff, including parents too, take a fifth grade Georgia milestones and see what they do. Are you smarter than a fifth grader? So I mean, I'm just curious. Just being honest. And I think once we recognize like what we know, then we're able to go ahead and start moving forward. I don't think we do enough self-examination and understanding of the things that we really need to know.
What's so interesting
Wow.
about what you just said, Christian,
Mm.
is that I have a fourth grader and I have gone through fourth grade 5 times. This, I, I don't understand the parent who does not learn alongside their children. Um, but I have seen it because I'm certified. I've been in the high school. I see it because I'm, with teachers and I'm training them on these emerging technologies. So I see it, but it still is baffling to me that parents do not learn alongside our children. The greatest gift of children is to be able to relearn and re-experience things that maybe you might have missed before, right? And I know a lot of people don't have the privilege or the ability to do that. They're working, they're busy, they have other kids responsible. I trust me, I get it. It is exhausting, but it's also a responsibility. So, um, when you start talking about communities coming together, it is our responsibility to learn this and to have a say because never in history, and I'll say that, have we as Black people honestly been able to have a say in how things are developed and created and then disseminated. And we have somewhat of a say now. Um, and I see so many people taking a back seat and waiting.
Yeah.
And
Can I address a little bit of that?
yeah,
It's that, and I understand exactly what you're saying, because what happens in the home um, influences everything that comes later, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. So many parents had horrible experiences in school.
yeah, absolutely.
And so they hate school.
Yeah.
They even hate school as adults. They don't want to go to that school. They don't want to talk to anybody at that school. And so they put their kids in the school because they have to. And then that part they don't mind doing. But relating, and then as adults, when they do come up to the school, it's usually because they got a phone call that so and so did something wrong. We need you to come here and we need to talk to you about your child.
Right.
Well, it's how do we break that cycle so that learning is something they want to participate in? Because when they were doing those, what is it, 15 years, 18 years going through school, when they were there, they struggled. They knew people didn't want them there. There, whatever the reasons were, they was horrific for a lot of those parents. And
Correct.
so working with a school is extremely difficult for them. And I remember before we started the show, the podcast is when Dr. Padgett, and I don't want to forget, because when you get old, you forget everything. But you talked about that customer service. That was the word that you used, customer service. Schools have to provide customer service to their customer. The customer are the parents and the children that come into these spaces to learn. And if the leadership, which is doggone true, that is important, and you are an exceptional leader based on the things that I've heard you say. If the leadership can't read and write a sentence, they're not going to do anything to try to make that parent welcome. And so one of the things is, how can we reach out to those parents to let them know we want them here? We want them to learn alongside their fourth grader, because they had such difficulty learning themselves. Even the information that comes home, teachers say, okay, go home, do this homework with your parent. And the parent goes, I don't know how to do this homework. For whatever reasons, they can't do that homework. Well, the whole thing is, when a school system requires the parents to be the teachers at home, there's a disconnect, because homework is practice of what you already know how to do, and you're getting better at it, as opposed to go home and have your mom and your daddy help you with this, because I can't do it for you in these 40 minutes I have you this week. So that whole paradigm shift has to change. Because if we don't, we'll just continue to do the things we've always done. And that customer service is essential. Parents need to be welcomed at the school. The kids need to be welcomed, and the teachers and the administrators and the certificated staff need to also want to welcome them and provide them with resources, answer questions, and treat them with dignity. And if the only time you're getting called is when your child, the teacher didn't like what your child did, and then when you get there, you find out the teacher is like full of BS. I was an administrator for half a year, the second half of a high school year. I hated every single solitary second of being an administrator. It's because I would get kids from teachers and I'd say, tell me what you did. And then they tell me, it's like, oh man, now I got to go talk to the teacher about, this is not a sign of disrespect. This is, and then someone told me that when I was going into this, they looked at me, they were leaving a position, and they said, I just want to tell you one thing as an administrator, everybody lies. And I said, oh, no, they don't. Not everybody lies. Well, you want to know how I felt at the end of doing it? Everybody lies. Now, I know that there are people who don't. But I had so many people, from administrators down to whoever, just lying their little butts off, and I would just look at them and go like, So what I'm saying is, I preferred to be a classroom teacher because that's where I could make an impact. But if we don't make it so parents feel welcomed at that site, at that school, then you're going to have a parent that's not going to be able to learn alongside that fourth grader, unless they use exceptional. They did the exceptional thing, which is, I'm going to learn, and that's really hard. It's very hard.
I just want to do a little, I am on board with everything that's been said, but I do want to do a little bit of a pushback. And this is my pushback. My pushback is that, in light of the economic system that now exists, that is, the free lunches, some of them have gone away. And it's every day it's in the news about how federal funds that were supposed to be in the school by a certain date have not made it. And the other side is that a lot of people who had relatively decent jobs don't have those jobs anymore. So there is an economic component to this that also has to be factored in. And I'm just wondering, can some of you talk about how we navigate the economic impact in light of these already situations that, how do you continue to be a good provider of services and yet financially, or the economic impact is even more dire than it has been in recent years? Or am I just talking off out of my head?
You got to care. You have to care about people. You have to have compassion in your heart. I think, to be honest, a lot of who we are, like I said, everything that we're seeing now come across the news, media, is a reflection of who we are as human beings. And I'm not going to take it back, because if we want to say it's a systemic problem, the system is made up of human beings, made up of people. People created this as a problem to begin with. Economics, wars, all kind of injustices, all were done by human beings. And somebody also let those human beings do those things. And so this is a humanity's problem. This is not like a legal issue or some object that is this is like real life human problems. And it is hard, but you have to care, and the people who do care are burnt out. So I always call myself Dorcas. I don't know if y'all know who Dorcas is in the Bible, but Dorcas was the one that did good and then died and then was brought back to life by one of the disciples. Nobody follow me? Okay. Well,
We hear you. Amen.
all right. Well, there's so many Dorcases in the school system. So many burnt out teachers, administrators don't get respect, don't get the credit that they deserve for feeding children, for clothing children. You get reprimanded for loving on children. You get reprimanded for reprimanding and chastising children as if you're not the adult. So there are so many rules to how you are supposed to relate to children. It's not as cut and dry as it used to be. Everyone is so offended by correction and by being told that they need to be better or strive for more. And it burns out the ones that are really genuine or doing the work. And um, and you have people that just sit by the wayside and just don't have any solutions, but have a lot of complaints, you know. And
Well, Dr. Morris, in one sense, it's always been that way.
Yeah.
I will cite when I first graduated from Morehouse. I worked at an elementary school that was near campus, and the norm was the teachers provided clean clothes, food, pen, pencils, everything that should have been provided at home.
Correct.
And so this is 1986, 87, 88.
Yeah.
And it was understood that was actually part of the job. So it wasn't just educating, it was providing the things that were needed so that the students could be successful. And here in 2026, it looks like it's going to be the same. However, I would argue that not only are, as you said, that those people who are in the school system are tired and burnt out, that there is a mind shift of those who may be in that setting who have made the decision, I'm going to say it this way, I ain't going to provide those things. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is just to teach. And so I say that with sort of asking you, what do we do in light of that?
Teaching is a
Excuse me, go ahead.
multifaceted career pathway that is no longer respected in the United States of America.
So one of the things that if for anybody to learn anything from anyone, you have to have a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Without the relationship, I can't trust you. I don't know you. You don't know me. I haven't taken the time to build a foundation where I see you, the individual, not you, one of the students in my class.
Right.
So the teachers that you were talking about that provided those things, they were the Dorcases of the world. And they're still out there because they have that purpose. Not everybody's going to be that. To a lot of people, this is just a paycheck. And they're doing it because they get summers off and they get to have 2 weeks at Christmas. And they have been teaching the same way for 25 years and have not changed a thing. But that's not a relationship. That's a job. Teaching is different. While I know we are workers, when you're a real teacher, you invest yourself in the process. It's not like being the checker at the Safeway. It's not, it's a completely different career. And when you take on that responsibility, and I see someone doesn't have something, sure, I mean, yeah, it's hard. I shouldn't have to take it out of my pocket, but I don't mind because I want that child to learn. And then over time, you figure out ways to make a lot of things available to them because you know, I've seen this so many times. I'm going to make sure that I pick up all the pencils that the kids have on the floor the first 2 weeks of school because they leave all their junk on the floor, and I'm gonna get it before the janitor gets it, so I can have a stockpile when somebody comes in, as opposed to saying, "What? You don't have a pencil? Well, blah blah blah. Go sit in the back of the class, and you need to fail." It's like, no, you don't have a pencil. Go over there and get a pencil. That's a relationship. That's a purpose. And I'm a firm believer that we had, especially now, I'm from California. I was born and raised in Oakland, California. California is not the South, and it is definitely not Georgia. But when you had that environment, like you said, you went to black schools. You went to black schools with black teachers, and your parents said, "No, I'm not taking you across town. You're going to be right here with people who know and love you, and you're going to learn from them." And that's the difference because now in California, we were always somewhat of a mix. We had a lot of whites and Asians and people, Portuguese and black folks, but we didn't have black schools. We never really had full black schools like you guys have in the South because the culture is very, very different. But you can, that's what I'm talking about, that customer service. You build that culture that invites the parents in and says, "I know you're doing the doggone best you can." And for some, you look at them and go like, "I'm glad I don't live in that house. I'm really sorry that this child doesn't get to see the mom very often because she's got 3 jobs. I'm sorry, or we have a lot of unhoused kids." So those are the things that we have to be sensitive to and I would say the parents are doing the best they can because unless the parent is sick, mentally sick. No parent is making a decision for their kid that they don't think is the best decision for their child. So rather than say, I don't, I want the students that I want and not the students that I get, what you say is, I open my door for every single student that comes in here because when they're in here, they are mine. And I'm going to relate to them so they know that they can come to me if they need anything. Now, I like middle and high school, but I love high school. I love high school kids. And I did a long-term sub-assignment this past year. For 2.5 months, I was with these high school kids, and they're like, who are you and who am I? And after we finished that 2.5 months, we made our own yearbook. They had pictures. They were writing stuff. Because we built a relationship. And that's how people learn. So going back to what you were talking about, Tony, is when you have a school, and it sounds like Dr. Padgett's school is that kind of school, because I love his leadership. I would love to have been one of your students. I actually would have liked to have been one of your teachers, but you'd have to be a high school teacher because I don't do well with little kids. But I'm just saying, when you have that kind of leadership, you welcome the parents, you build the relationship. And a teacher needs to have a relationship with the parent as much as possible. All right. I said my thing.
Well, we have really run out of time. So I'm really I'm really struggling right now because I do not want to turn this conversation loose. And what I will say is that, well, let me do this. I have a list that I want to read, and let me see. This is just this is a list for educators of free software that they can take advantage of. And so these are the ones that Tony Mobley claims first. Canva education, free. Adobe Express education, free. GitHub education, free. Copilot Pro, free. Figma education, free. Microsoft 365 education, free. Google Space / Gemini Notebook, free. And Miro education, free. Norton education for higher education, free. Unity Educator, free. Lucid education, free. Only requirement, show your credentials, your education email, and I will try to put this list. This is a partial list. There is a gigantic list of things that are available, not just for educators, but students as well, that you can access for this school year. All of these free software are free for at least 1 year, and you just have to renew it next year. There's a tremendous list. We didn't have time to share it here. And so the list will be on the website at Conversations with Tony Mobley. So you can check it there. That is just a partial list. There is tons and tons of stuff that's out there that's free, and all you have to do is have for K through 12 and higher education, and for students regardless to whatever level they may be on. Also hardware out there too with significant discounts. So you're speaking to the world. What do you want the world to know? I'm going to tell you, I really don't want to read that question. I really don't, because I don't want to stop, but I have to stop. So I'm not going to put you guys on the spot, but we did not even get to half of the questions that I had prepared. And so you guys got to come back. I'm not going to hold you down to a particular date, but you got to come back. Before we go, Dr. Morris, I need you to share your business, and Dr. Davidson, please share your book information. I wanted to ask you how your book was going, and Dr. Morris, I want to know how your business is going. And last thing I want to say, as far as I'm concerned, education is a ministry, and that's the way in which I look at it. And I also want to say that we had an earlier conversation, pre-show conversation, and Dr. Padgett lifted up particular schools in his community. I'm not going to name the schools that he shared with us that are powerful education centers in his community. What I will say about, and I know this for a fact, those schools that he mentioned have houses of worship that are doing the business of being the centerpiece for their communities. And I know for a fact that Dr. Davidson's church is doing similar work. But I need you, and my team is going to get on me, but I have to take the spanking for this. Dr. Davidson, please talk about your book, and Dr. Morris, please talk about your business. Please.
So, well, thank you very much. And this is the book, The Bashful Ladybug, and it's doing well. Marketing is the hardest part of writing. Somebody's got to know that you wrote something. But I'm in the process now of reaching out to the teachers, because this is a really great book for children who are entering strange spaces, a new kindergartner, or you're new to a school. And this gives them encouragement and understanding about how they can all fit in. They're all part of the garden. They're all part, they have just as much value as the weed and the sunflower. So that has been very helpful. And special needs kids are also using the books as well, because they need to fit in as well. I want to say this very last thing, and I said, this is the last thing I'm going to say. The last thing I'm going to say. Oh, you want to ask me something? What do you want to ask?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, this is the last thing I'm going to say. I asked a lot of my friends who are teachers to please give me some information that I could share. And this one teacher in Idaho, who was one of my students, we are still in touch with each other. And she sent this, and I just liked it because I think it's important. For parents, you are the expert on your child, and it is imperative that you use your voice to advocate for them. This being said, your child's teacher is your partner, not your opponent. Start with collaboration. You can advocate firmly without assuming the school is an enemy. Your child's grades are not a report card on your parenting. A child with struggling grades doesn't mean you're failing. Likewise, a child with good grade doesn't mean you're succeeding. Behavior is communication, especially when a child suddenly changes. Ask what's happening before jumping on what's wrong with you. Finally, teach your child to advocate for themselves and to use their voice. That's a life skill that they will need throughout their lives. And I just think that kind of just puts it all together.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Dr. Morris, please just give us your website so that we can, please just share your website with us.
Sure. My business is Metaverse United, and the website is unitethemetaverse.com.
Okay. And Dr. Padgett, thank you so much for being here. I have run out of time, and so I can't even give you a last word. My apologies, sir. Forgive me. We want to thank our panelists today for being a part of our conversation today, for doing the work you do, and for being the people who you are. You can watch Conversations with Tony Mobley on our website, conversationwithtonymobley.com. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by Claudia Lopez-Wardham. Our current team is Laura Thompson, Zachary Sorensen, Mickey McAture. Thank you, sir. Thank you, team. Thank you, Mimo Live, Zoom, for making this broadcast possible. We have real conversations with real people. Next week, educator and music professional, Mr. Jeff Francis, will be our guest next week. Please feel free to donate your time, your talent, your financial gift. We are committed to getting better. Your support makes this possible. We also love to have you join our growing community. Like, subscribe, and comment on YouTube so that we can keep bringing you more meaningful conversations here at Conversation with Tony Mobley. We believe that when people sit down and truly talk, something powerful happens. So consider having a conversation today. It just might change everything. Please take care wherever you are in the world, and we will see you soon. Bye.